Update. My dad stole my identity and opened 3 credit cards in my name. I turned him into the police. Original post. I found my dad used my information to open 3 credit cards over the last year. When I went to get a pre-approval for a mortgage, I was told by the lender they wouldn't be able to give me a home loan because of the defaulted credit cards. They also said I probably wouldn't be able to get a loan from any lender because of it and gave me a sheet of paper explaining what I need to do in order to fix it. When I tried disputing the cards, one of which is already in collections, the disputes got closed out as the debts were verified. I told my divorced parents about it and their answers were pretty wildly different. My dad said these things happen and that I should be more careful in the future with my social security number. Seeing as I've always been careful, that made me pretty mad. My mom said she thinks my dad might have something to do with it, since him opening credit cards in her name had a part to play in their divorce. She told me he ran up about $50,000 in credit card debts on secret credit cards. A few days ago, I ended up casually telling my dad I'm going to have to file a police report for the credit cards. He told me I probably shouldn't do that because $15,000 isn't that much in the grand scheme of things. When I told him it was keeping me from buying a house, he said I could just wait a few years until they fell off my credit report. He said it would only take another 4.5 years. When I told him I obviously couldn't wait that long, so I have to file the police report, he straight up told me not to do it and to just be more careful in the future. Once I told him I already got the paperwork together from the credit agencies, he told me he had opened the cards to pay for living expenses over the last year. He said his work slowed down a little bit, but he'd do what he could to help pay it off. He said it would ruin his life if he went to jail. I'm leaning towards going to the police anyway, but I didn't write that minute. I have everything in front of me today to go make the report. I guess I just want to make sure turning it over to the police is the right thing to do here, especially if I'm wanting to buy a house this year. Now for the top advice before reading the updates. Report him for fraud. Now that he is older, a little prison time shouldn't bother him. A-hole. Report him instantly so you can have your life back. He knew this would happen, but just put it off until you grew up. If he wasn't your dad, you'd have reported him already, right? Well, think about this. Why didn't he give you the same respect and not ruin your credit because he's your father? You've got it somewhat backwards. The man ruined OP's credit because he's OP's father. He didn't do it to some random stranger on the street. He victimized his own child instead. He victimized his own child because it was easy too. Parents naturally have access to their child's social security number from the child's birth. Easy pickings. Would he do it to someone on the street? Most likely yes. He seems the type. But that's harder to do. Screwing over your wife and kid is easy because those numbers are readily available. And he banked on family love to keep himself out of jail. Report him. The same thing happened to me after my parents disowned me and I was an undergrad. I learned a lot about personal finance and got it sorted out and paid off the credit card bills. Then I find my dad trying to do it again. Told my family to stay away from me and gathered evidence that I would take them to court for the debit and identity theft. The fact that your dad is so nonchalant is giving me PTSD. Sign up for credit checking and or credit monitoring service to prevent any further activity, and definitely file the police report. Now for the first update. I spent about half of the day reading everyone's comments and it pretty much solidified what I was going to do. The process itself was pretty easy. I went to the police department and the person at the front desk had me wait about 10 minutes before an officer came out. We talked for about 15 minutes and I made copies of all the paperwork I gave him. He told me the case would be assigned to a detective on Tuesday and gave me a pamphlet they have about how to contact the credit agencies. I was given a report number and was told I could use that now to start disputing the accounts. A detective is going to follow up with me in the next couple of weeks. I asked what would end up happening to my dad, and the officer said it looked pretty clear-cut to him, but the charging decision is 100% with the state attorney's office. He said if they decide to pursue charges, he'll likely get a warrant put out for his arrest. He also said typically if this is his first felony, he's probably going to get some sort of pre-trial diversion with court supervision or probation. He probably won't go to jail for years, but if he gets picked up on a warrant, he's going to spend at least a little bit of time behind bars. I've decided I'm okay with that, because it's obvious to me he did this purposefully. He's never been arrested before, so hopefully this is a wake-up call for him. At the same time, he completely did this to himself. I'll update whenever I learn more. Well done, Opie. I was so mad on your behalf reading the first post. It would take everything in me not to use his words against him. Jail time? It's just a few years. You've ruined my life? No, you did, by trying to ruin mine. I hope the marks come off your credit report like it's made of Teflon. Good luck on your home ownership journey. Same here. I couldn't believe how Opie's dad just expected Opie to suck it up and have to pay that fraud off themselves. His attitude was essentially, "It's okay, son. My fraud won't affect your life for too long. Yeah, I've inconvenienced you a little because you can't buy a house for 4 more years, but it'll go by fast. Oh, in the meantime, I'll try to pay back some of the debt I racked up on credit cards I created using your social security number." He did this nonsense to Opie's mother as well. I'd be encouraging the mom to do the same and get her credit cleared as well. Perhaps when she sees how Opie cleared his credit up relatively quickly, she'll pursue him as well. Makes me sick a parent could do this to their own kids. Parents are supposed to protect their kids, not burden them. My dad and my stepmom are kinda bad with money. When I lived with him, he'd sometimes borrow money but never get it back. He'd find a way to justify not paying me back by saying it's for rent or some BS. Fortunately, it wasn't too much. Maybe $80 here, $40 there. Thankfully, he never did anything like this credit card fraud to me though. I too would want to go to the police to fix my credit, but it's obviously be really hard because it would destroy our relationship. Perhaps that's what these crappy parents count on. Guilt. We're actually much closer now than when I was younger, and he never asks for money either. I am amazed that a father would do that to his child. Defrauding you and the banks. He used $15,000 for living expenses? He didn't know there are federal and state programs that will help people having a rough time. I am guessing since your mother mentioned he did the same thing to her credit, this isn't his first rodeo. It sucks you have to now clean up a mess you didn't create to get back to ground zero before you can start the loan process for a home. Your father really needs to apologize and ask for your forgiveness for being an idiot. My best friend has 2 siblings, and their father tried this with all 3 of his children. Absolutely destroyed the credit of 2 of his kids. My bestie is smart and got keen to his game even as a teenager, and was the only one he couldn't/didn't screw over, because she was so vigilant about keeping him away from any of her information, monitoring the mail, things like that. So sad, considering she was also a teen parent trying to claw her way back to stability and create a better life for her kids, and she did. I think this is more common than people realize. Mine did something similar. Was just because he couldn't control my mom's shopping habit and didn't want her hassling him. I'm pretty open about talking to people about it, and I've had a surprising number of instances where people talk to me privately to relate some similar story. They don't talk about it often to avoid generating ongoing conflict within their family. Some people still want to reconcile with their family if possible. My dad's dead now, and my mom bounced when no longer financially beneficial for her to be around, so never has been an issue for me. Now for the second update. There's been some good, a little bad, and a little real bad progress the past few days. The good, I used my report number and dispute every account. When I checked my credit last, which everyone should be doing regularly, the one with the lowest balance was already off of my account. The other cards and the collection account are still showing, but I have hope they'll be falling off in the next few weeks. I also received a call from someone at the prosecutor's office who had a couple of extra questions for me and asked if I would be willing to testify if they charge him. I said yes, and they said they would be making a decision on their charges before the end of the month. The bad, obviously, is someone talked to my dad about this, because the last time he talked, he scolded me for going to the police and hasn't talked to me since. One of my brothers was also pretty mad at me about it and hasn't talked to me in over a week. The rest of my siblings and my mom understood where I was coming from. The real bad? One of my other brothers, not the one who was angry, found 2 open credit cards on his credit which weren't his. He checked his credit score for the first time in a couple of years, and he said it was down about 150 points from where it used to be. He's now in the process of dealing with that. He doesn't have any positive proof yet that it was our dad, but the fingers are pointing in that direction. This still blows my mind that a dad could do this to his own children. And moving forward though, I still hope to be able to purchase a house before the end of the year. Edit. Also, I think all of my other siblings, there are 6 of us, are checking their credit too. Probably for the best. I'm not a psychoanalyst, but something tells me he has an addiction of one kind or another. I've seen this behavior in others, mainly friends, family members, or significant others, and there is always a root cause related to addiction, whether it's gambling, drugs, alcohol, or all of the above. If you, your siblings, or your mom have a relationship with your dad in the future, this will absolutely need to be addressed before moving forward. I'm glad you sorted this situation out for yourself, and I'm certain it wasn't easy to do so. You also paved the way for your family members to manage the effects of this on them, as well as for your dad to correct his ways, whether or not he has deeper issues, or this was just a really crappy thing he did. Getting credit in other people's names might be the addiction. Just like when rich people shoplift, they get a rush of dopamine by doing something they know they shouldn't. Imagine spending $5,000 that's not yours and thinking it will never come back on you. And it doesn't, so you do it again. This time, the limit is higher. It's a high that doesn't affect your appearance or make you fail a drug test. That's certainly a possibility, although one would have to be a crappy person in the first place to do it the first time. So that is a worse scenario for the family. At least if there was an underlying addiction, it wasn't him destroying his kids' futures. That's a controversial statement, but I'll stand by it. Addiction is a beast, and otherwise decent people become awful in its hold. One of my best friend's ex-husbands had a bad injury. They put him on painkillers he didn't need to be on, and he became addicted, then became abusive, spent their life savings while trying to procure more or alternatives, and destroyed both of their credit to boot. She's still rebuilding to this day. Unfortunately for her, it was well within his legal right when it came to the financial stuff, since they were married and accounts were joint. So she doesn't have the option to quick repair her credit like OP is doing. She also spent the majority of her personal savings to help him send to school for his master's, so the bleeding dry began even before that. But otherwise, this man was good to her until the addiction kicked in. That's sort of what this situation reminds me of mainly. Hence, I think there is some other underlying problem that will not go away even after he's served his time. Although I can recall from OP's account in other threads if his dad was always this awful. Last story. Am I the a-hole for exposing my husband online? Original post. I, 28 female, recently discovered that my husband, 32 male, had been not only unfaithful, but also financially irresponsible. I had been struggling to pay bills since he had lost his job, but it turns out he had been squandering our savings on expensive dates with not one, but two women. When I confronted him about his infidelity and financial negligence, he showed no remorse and instead accused me of being too demanding. I felt betrayed and enraged, so I decided to expose him on social media. The financial strain in our relationship began when my husband lost his job. I had been trying my best to keep our finances afloat, juggling bills and expenses alone. It was a stressful time, and I thought we could make it through together. I was wrong. During a shift at work, an anonymous source reached out to me. They shared screenshots of conversations between my husband and one of the other women he had been involved with. These chats revealed details of their plans, their relationships, etc. At that moment, I felt a wave of anger washed over me. I couldn't believe how carelessly he had treated our relationship, our finances, and me. My husband, whose dad was a pastor, liked to preach about loyalty. But when it came down to it, he was running around with not one, but two women behind my back. Talk about hypocrisy, huh? Feeling angry and betrayed, I decided to put my husband on blast on social media. I uploaded all the evidence of his cheating and tagged him and his father, letting everyone know what a two-timing jerk he was. The fallout was massive, and he found himself in the spotlight, exposed for the hypocrite he was. Despite the mountain of evidence I shared, my husband's dad was still defending him like a loyal knight. He called me a liar, dismissed the screenshots, and claimed his precious son wouldn't do something like this. Talk about denial, right? Meanwhile, I was already deep in the process of filing for divorce. His dad's blind loyalty was just adding an extra layer of annoyance. Recently, one of my girlfriends told me I was overreacting, and it's normal for my husband to have more partners. So I've been wondering lately, did I overreact? Edit. Forgot to add, but my husband, before marrying me, posted and exposed his cheating partner, so I guess I'm returning the favor. Now for the top comments before reading the update. One of your girlfriends thinks it's okay for your husband to have girlfriends? That's not a person you should remain friends with. Wondering if this friend had some relations with OP's soon-to-be ex. Not much wondering on my part. A pastor condoning his son's infidelity and gaslighting the victim. Not surprising that a pastor would do this, because they tend to be hypocritical, egotistical, morally and ethically deficit. What the husband is doing is morally wrong and will continue to do so in life because daddy has his back. This man should be stripped of his pastor title as he's clearly unfit to teach the Bible. To the wife, to hell with him. Find yourself someone who won't treat you like that. Thanks for such kind words. I hope you find peace and a better life you deserve. Brace yourself and lean on those you can really trust. Perhaps not the church folks that are connected to this pastor. Mini update. Wait, do people actually think my friend is one of the women he was with? Now that I think about it, possibly. I didn't add this because I didn't think it was significant, but my friend I mentioned here, one of my girlfriends told me I was overreacting, and it's normal for my husband to have more partners. We'll just call her Emma, female 25. Emma used to work with the same company my husband worked at. They did once go on a business trip together. My husband told me they didn't share rooms back then when I asked. But now that I realized it, the company only provided one room. Of course, she's been with him. Why else would another woman defend a cheating man whore? To her friend, OP needs to get checked for STDs and bounds. Then it's also weird that she's essentially telling you to stay with him if she's one of the affair partners. Because Emma doesn't want him. She just wanted fun time with him. Either that or he asked Emma to speak to OP. Full update. Thank you all for your support and input. After much reflection and considering the advice you've given, I've made a difficult decision to move forward with a divorce. While it breaks my heart to end my marriage, I can't ignore the pain and trust that has been betrayed. It's time to prioritize my own well-being and move forward. I've also got a lot of people telling me apparently my friend was probably sleeping with my husband. I looked into the matter and I don't want to give exact details, but you were right. I want to express my gratitude for everyone who has taken the time to offer advice and support. I know it's easy to doubt online stories, especially on a new account, but your insights have meant a lot to me. While this is a painful journey, your kindness helps make it a bit easier. Thank you all for listening and offering guidance. Update. I've only just realized that I let the men I call my family and friends ruin my marriage. Original post. I've been divorced for almost 2 years, and a few weeks ago my father, 67 male, my brothers, 37 male and 40 male, and 4 friends, 35 male, 37 male, 38 and 41 male, while very drunk, joked about how they can't believe I left my wife. They said that they all tried to get with her since the divorce, but she had repeatedly rejected them, saying it would be inappropriate and unkind to do such a thing to me. I laughed at what they were saying, just to ease them into saying more. And once they thought I found it funny, they really opened up. They had all purposely made me feel paranoid about my ex-wife cheating on me and using me, because why would a woman like her be with a man like me if it wasn't for the money I made? They often hinted at, or sometimes even directly said, that she wore the pants in the relationship, and that she was only with me because I'm easily manipulated. They constantly planted negative things into my mind. If I wanted to talk with them about something happening in my relationship, they would put a negative twist to it, or they'd purposely give me bad advice. Then, when I lost my job during COVID, they all hinted at how she's definitely cheating, now that there's no financial benefit in being faithful to me. I obviously trusted them and often took their words to heart, and it ruined my marriage. I frequently argued with my wife, and I was always accusing her of something or suspecting her of not really loving me. I questioned everything that was between us. I often told her BS things, like how I'm a high-value man and that she needed to appreciate me. And when I was not working for 6 months, I flipped the script and started accusing her of not respecting me for not working. I was unappreciative of all her hard work and for being the one who took care of our household bills and any other bill during those 6 months of unemployment. I continued to let their words drive me into paranoia, and I started accusing her of cheating with her coworkers. Eventually, my wife had enough of my moods, constant mistrust, and accusations. She left me, and to be honest, for a long time it felt like it came out of nowhere, and so I had myself convinced she left me for another man. Now here I am knowing that every man I've called my family, my friend, were all my enemies who I let destroy my marriage. I obviously lost my mind once they were done telling me all the ways they conspired to ruin my marriage, and we did get to blows. then cut off all contact with each and every one of them. I want to reach out to my ex and make amends and hopefully get her back. My ex-wife has agreed to meet up with me, and she doesn't know exactly what I want to discuss with her, and I don't know how to go about making amends and hopefully mending our relationship. How do I tell her how much I regret everything, and that I want her to give me a second chance? Is there even a chance for us? Edit. Some of y'all keep saying you took the words of your friends over your wife's, and I don't think that's a fair or complete assessment. I trusted my father and brothers. My father was the main driving force behind this manipulation campaign. It is not often that your entire family is conspiring against you. And not only your family, but also your friends. I'm not running away from accepting the fact that it is wholly my fault in how my marriage ended. I take ownership of that. I take ownership of the fact that I accused my wife of being a cheater or a user. I regret it all. If my ex-wife doesn't accept my apology, I would accept it gracefully. If she said she never wanted to talk to me or ever get back together, I'd also accept it. I would not stand in the way, and I would not try to change her mind. I would wish her well and leave her be. Now for the top advice before reading the update. So are you telling me that your dad and brothers also tried to get with your wife? I'm shocked they are still alive after a confession like that. I don't know, man. Bahamians are just too volatile to hear something like that to not go off. That's just vile. I didn't include the violence that broke out once heard it all because I didn't want to get my post banned. Blood was absolutely spilled. And of course I had myself beat because it was 7 against 1. But I did do damage, and an ambulance and the police were called. None of us pressed charges against each other and left it at that. Honestly, I'm still raging, and I've been heartbroken since. What pieces of turd are these family members and friends? Wasn't enough they ruined your life, they ganged up on you instead of being apologetic AF and de-escalating. Shaking my head. I know you can't go John Wick on them, but isn't there any legal framework for a defamation lawsuit you could start on behalf of your wife against all of them? I've decided I wasn't going to let these people steal one more second of my time. I don't think there's much I can do legally, and even if there is a legal framework for it, I wouldn't even waste any time on it. That relationship is dead, dude, and you killed it. Sure, meet up and explain everything you learned and apologize for your wrongs, but besides closure, I don't think you should expect anything more. Seconding this, if I was laid off and my wife was working, I'd be appreciative AF, to be honest. A 50s housewife with back hair. Only been laid off once luckily, but my unemployment ended up being a long weekend. They got into his head, it's done. He can maybe get closure and give her some, but I can't see it being rekindled. Now that I look back at things, I absolutely see how unappreciative I was of her kindness and her dedication to me. Even reading this has genuinely hurt me, because I really let these men, especially my father, play with my mind. I can't even come close to imagining how much I hurt her with my distrust. Now for the update. On Sunday, I got to meet up with my ex-wife. I apologized profusely and she was kind and understanding, but said she couldn't and wouldn't forgive me. She said that it simply isn't in her nature to forgive, and that despite it all, she holds no grudges or anger against me, and wishes me nothing but goodness in my life. She did give me some advice, and told me that I have been in an abusive relationship all my life, and that in order to heal whatever is broken in me, that I should cut out my father, as he sets the tone for my treatment by the rest of my family. She had pointed out the many ways my father has hurt me, or had encouraged my family to mistreat me. She said I'd always be stagnated and unhappy if I continued to associate myself with my family and former friends. I told her that I cut them out of my life, and that I've got my first therapy session scheduled in a few days. She said she was proud of me for taking my first step into healing. Our conversation was heartfelt and emotionally devastating, as we discussed the many ways our marriage had failed, as well as the abuse I've experienced by my father and family. We cried the entire time. We cried a lot. We ended our conversation with a long hug, and then we said our goodbyes. If any of your brothers/friends are married or have girlfriends, tell them exactly what they did. All of them work together to manipulate you, then all try to sleep with your ex. They are monstrously manipulative and evil. And quite besides revenge, these women need to know their partners are abusive and manipulating them deliberately and cheating, if they were in a relationship during this time. I would send a group text of all the wives/girlfriends, send them screenshots of their messages as well as this Reddit post. You're not seeking revenge, just paying it forward. I've heard of toxic families, but man, what your family did to you is unreal. and led by your dad? Damn, what kind of parent does that to their child? I hope you move on and pass their BS. So sorry they did those things to you. I'm so sorry you were going through this. Too bad she can't forgive, because that's an important step in emotional maturity. I wish you healing and happiness. Forgiveness is earned through changed behavior and recognition of your harm, but it isn't guaranteed or something you deserve. Some things shouldn't be forgiven, but that doesn't mean it eats away at a person or that it somehow holds them back. So I do agree with her when she said that you don't need to forgive in order to heal or gain emotional maturity. And sometimes forgiveness is not even an option. For her, this is one of those things that she simply can't and won't forgive, and all she can do is accept it. As much as I'd like her forgiveness, it is simply not available to me, and that's perfectly fine. Now leave her alone and continue to work on yourself. Next story. I told my mom to do us all a favor and finally overdose. My mom, if you'd like to call her that, was absent for the first 11 years of my life due to her addiction. She got clean a year later and then relapsed when I was 17. I always used to cry myself to sleep, wondering why pills are more important. All she had to do was choose us and say no. She would never do it. We were never good enough for her to stay clean. Why do I feel like I lost something that I never had? Fast forward to now. I'm 21. I have accepted that all I have is pictures of my mom and I'll never have a real one. But every time I picture her, all I feel is pain. In fact, all 8 of us will never have a mother, bar the youngest who's adopted. The second and third youngest are in foster care. Even though they aren't my dad's, he is trying to adopt them to keep us all together. Anyway, it was my 21st not too long ago. My mother stumbled in. You could immediately tell she was on a calm down and rambling to anyone who would listen to how she raised us. She loved us, she cared about us, and how my father snatched that away from her. I walked right up to her, and with a 20-year dialogue of pain, anger, and everything I wanted to say, scream at her. I'm in a room with a parent that I barely know. You'll say to anyone that you're proud of me, but you don't know me. You should have been there when I graduated, congratulating me and telling me you loved me, but you were strung out on drugs. Telling me you love me, but it isn't real. If you really cared for me, then where have you been? You've had over 25 years to get yourself together and be a mother. You should have been there for us. I don't get it. I am humiliated. We needed you. I needed you. We were too young to understand. I was nothing but a kid who couldn't understand. All I feel is pain when I look at you and think about you. Just do us a favor and end our suffering, and finally overdose. And let's just say after I screamed that in her face, I felt relieved. I finally felt a bit of happiness mixed with sorrow, but it was calming. I guess I'm grieving for the mother I never had in a sense. Her side of the family are refusing to speak to me or any of my siblings, as they call it punishment until I apologize. My siblings were proud of me and said they'd do what I did in a heartbeat. My dad said it wasn't the best place or time, but is proud of me for expressing how I feel. I don't really know how I feel anymore. Like, I do feel guilty. Like, maybe I shouldn't have said it. I don't really know, other than I'm hurting. Now for the top comments. I'm not sure if you and your sibs are in therapy or not, but if you want a free/low commitment option, you can join Alcoholic Anonymous. It's a support group for family of addicts. And they also have Teen Al-Anon. I forgot the group name, but they also have one called something like Adult Children of Addicts, for those who grew up in that situation and how it impacts their adulthood. All of these groups have local and online meetings. We've been in therapy for as long as I can remember. I think I started therapy when I was roughly 2 or 3, and it was play therapy or something along those lines, due to her trying to end us among a whole load of abuse when it was her weekend to take care of us. Was it the best place? Maybe not. But if no lies were told, you have nothing to apologize for. Her family can enable her delusions and her lifestyle if they want, but there is nothing to apologize for. Exactly. Why the enabling? It's insanity. I don't think it's enabling. As such, I think it's more optics. Opie saying what she said means that the extended family had a camera turned on their own actions, etc. And that's what got them angry. I know optics and enabling do sometimes go hand in hand. Poor Opie. Last story. My dad's partner keeps trying to psychologically harm me, but I can't help laughing at her futile attempts. I'll start this by giving some background info. My 18 male, parents 53 male, 46 female, divorced when I was 6 on good terms. They got shared custody of me, and I'd spend half a week at my mom's and half a week at my dad's. Around a year after the divorce, my dad got together with his current partner, who we'll call Amy, 42 female. She has 2 children, 14 female and 12 male, from her previous marriage. I'm pretty close with them and we get along well. Unfortunately, me and Amy never really got close, but we also never fought. That was until around half a year ago where out of nowhere, she did a complete 180. She started giving me the passive-aggressive treatment and made remarks about every single thing I did. Back then, I had no idea what was her reason, but I recently found out. And let me tell you, she's petty AF. My dad's dream ever since he started working was being able to retire early. After working at the same bank for over 25 years and saving a big portion of every paycheck, he managed to retire last year. I'm really proud of him because he decided to use his free time to work on himself. He started to eat a lot healthier and has been working out daily. This led him to losing over 40 pounds. As it turns out, Amy's not as enthusiastic about it as I am. She's really envious. I'm not entirely sure as to why, but I'm guessing it has something to do with her poor financial decisions in the past. Unfortunately for me, she's the type of person that bows down to the strong but bullies the weak. She knows that my dad won't take her nonsense, so she decided that I'm the next best target. My dad's place has 3 bedrooms, which means her kids have to share the biggest one. Since I'll be going to college in a couple of months, I told my dad that I'll give my bedroom to one of them. My sister got really happy because she's about to start high school and she desperately needs some privacy. Because of it, Amy came to the conclusion that since I'll be gone in a couple of months, she can start treating me like crap. Here are a couple of examples which came to mind because of how stupid they were. She would scream at me if I failed more than 1/4 of the bathtub, which, mind you, is not even a big bathtub, as I barely fit inside as a 6 feet 4 inches guy. I chalked it up to her being an environmental freak all of a sudden. She wants me to do my dishes, which is understandable and I have no problem doing. What I have a problem with is her not letting me use more than 1 set of dishes. She doesn't allow me to touch any other dishes besides that one, and doesn't even allow her own children to touch mine as if I had a bubonic plague or something. Last week, I bought microwavable popcorn and started making it. When she heard a popping sound, she appeared in the kitchen out of nowhere and started grabbing every bowl so I would have to eat out of the bag. She hid the bowls under her blanket, like some toddler. I audibly chuckled because of how ridiculous this was, and she immediately started shouting something along the lines of, "How dare you laugh at me?" I have a long blonde hair which is the same length/color as her daughter's. Once, she stormed into my room and started demanding I clean the bathroom sink because, and I quote, "Your disgusting hair is all over the sink. Clean it now." The problem is, I just came back from school and haven't been to the toilet that day. I told her that the hair was not mine, and that is probably her daughter's, to which she said that is not possible because only your hair looks so repelling. Now, mind you, this only happens when my dad's not around. She once tried this nonsense when he was around, and he immediately shut it down. He's been nothing but understanding and has talked to her numerous times, but she always resumes her usual behavior after things settle down. I don't know if any of you found yourself in a similar situation, but I'd appreciate any advice on how to deal with it. Like I said, I'm moving away for college, but I want to be able to visit my dad without having to participate in emotional warfare. Edit 1. I've seen some people asking why my dad married her. The answer is he didn't. As much as they might have had feelings for each other at some point, their relationship currently is basically strictly practical. She needs someone to help her with the kids and a place to live, while he needs someone to be around. The entirety of my dad's family is either dead or live so far away that they see each other every couple of years. As for friends, my dad used to be a workaholic, so he only has like 2 close friends who he sees semi-frequently. Laugh at her. Simple and effective. At every petty comment, laugh at her. She wants a reaction? Give her the one that will screw her more. Don't engage in smile and laugh. Don't give a rise or argument. That's what I've been doing for some time now, but it only seems to make the comments more frequent. I can't wait till I get away from her. They're more frequent because she's not getting to you. Maybe record one of her tantrums and send it to your dad, and then every time she tries again, get your cell phone out. Another commenter also suggested recording this stuff. Might actually look into doing it. We'll see. Damn it, man. I know what it is like to have such a horrible step-parent, unfortunately. My best advice would be to cover your back by having your phone recording as many interactions with her as possible. I'm not a fan of hidden cameras, but when someone is mistreating you, it is the best way to prove what is going on. Keep your phone in your pocket so that it isn't so obvious. Who knows though, maybe being obvious and recording her actions when she starts up is exactly the wake-up call she needs. She will be upset, but so what? She will just have to get over it. Not a bad idea, though I feel like it won't change much. Update. My 31 male fiance's 29 female coworker told me about her past. Original story. I've known my fiance for 3 years, engaged last year, and we should be married next year. Anyway, last night both of us are hanging out with her coworkers, and we had a great time. I excused myself to have a cigarette outside, and one of her coworkers approached me and asked if I was okay with her. I didn't understand, so I asked him what is he trying to say. He told me that before she was my girlfriend, she hooked up with most of her coworkers. One-night stands, friends with benefits, you name it, she does it all. And then I asked him if he was one of them, and he said yes. I'm not into shaming or anything, but she lied to me. We've been honest about our relationship, and she told me that she's not into hookup culture. I'm still not sure whether to tell her about this, and I also not sure who's lying, she or her coworker. Redditor, what would you do? I kinda lost right now. Edit. She lied to me that she never did casual flings or hookups, that she only gets intimate inside a relationship. Now for the top advice before reading the update. Just tell her what happened and see what she says. When I went out for a smoke last night, Jimmy told me you've hooked up with all of them. And then silence. Silence is your friend when you want information from someone. Let it sit for many, many beats. Eventually, if she doesn't say anything, you can prompt, "Did you?" Keep your cool. If she gets defensive, make it clear, "I'm not upset that you hooked up with them. What bothers me is you didn't tell me. You even said you're not into hookup culture. Why weren't you honest?" I'm doing this. But can you please give the fiancé you have known for 3 years the benefit of the doubt? You don't know this man. It seems very sketchy to me. I wouldn't be surprised if he once heard trying to break you guys up. For one, if it's 100% true, why would he find you to tell you? Not assume you would know or would care about her past. Right? I was thinking, why would this man dive straight into this topic when speaking to Opie? When I go out for a cigarette break, I bring up light topics that help me get to know the person better. This guy seems to have a clear motive, to cause a rift. Also, someone else mentioned how hookup culture isn't a permanent state of being. I find this to be true. I was once young and naive, and would have a lot of one-night stands. Now I would say that I'm not into hookup culture, that I absolutely would be telling the truth. People change, and her intimate history, whilst important for some people, is quite frankly not Opie's business. It took ages to tell my boyfriend about my past because I was ashamed, yet me telling him was voluntary as I wanted to inform him. It is not a requirement and also not a lie, unless she denied she ever had hookups. You say co-workers, but you only mentioned this one fellow who told you this. If he's the only one, is there any chance he is just a creep who is lying? Maybe he just doesn't want your fiancé to become unavailable. If that scenario is true and you don't tell her, you could be endangering her. It's hard to say what else someone like that is capable of. If he's telling the truth, then yes. Her dishonesty, not her past, is a problem. Yeah, this sounds like the barbecue scene at the office space. Opie could blow up his relationship over an untrue comment a douche made. And now for the update. So, I confronted her right away after my first post. He asked her about everything that her coworker, without mentioning his name, told me. Apparently, everything he told me was true. Unfortunately, she indeed had short-term relationships with most of her coworkers. I don't want to ask more about the details on how or who she did with, but there's more than I thought, including someone not from her office, because I know I am a type of person who is extremely insecure. So yeah, she's into a lot of casual hookups. So I asked, why did you lie? And she told me because when we were dating, she said that I said something between the line that I don't date promiscuous women. And because she enjoys spending so much time with me and having a great chemistry, she knew lying was better. Now she's sorry and crying because she lied. She even opted to quit her job and work somewhere else. I told her she doesn't have to do that as I don't want to be a controlling narcissist. But I need to take care of my mental health, and I'm seeking counseling right now. And for the moment, I need some time alone to get a better grip on myself. I even consider postponing our wedding. I see a great future with her. I want her to be part of my life. but deep down something is killing me. I want her to be part of my life, but deep down something is killing me. Seems the truth is in plain sight, my dude. You feel like crap because your girlfriend lied to you because she knew you wouldn't like the answer. Being promiscuous before she met you isn't necessarily bad, but lying to you about it was. Personally, I would have a hard time not wondering what else she may have done that with. I'd personally postpone the wedding. You aren't doing the right thing by going to counseling, but you need to give yourself time to work through this. You need to be able to trust your partner in any successful relationship. If you come to the conclusion that you can't, it's better to do so before a wedding. Being promiscuous isn't necessarily bad, but there's something crappy about virtually every male that's in both your lives having slept with their significant other. I worked with a girl like that. She had slept with at least 10 guys from our workspace. I legitimately think it was near 20 in about 2 years. She would bring different guys to the brewery after work or to company parties. It sounds horrible, but the guys were all a joke to our workplace, because it was like, how long are they going to last? You see them trying to hella hard with their appearance and the way they carry themselves? It was a male-dominated workplace, so they always projected a certain way. All the while, even the managers are speculating on who she's going to let inside her next. Your girlfriend lied to you because she knew you wouldn't like the answer, which will be a constant theme in this relationship and marriage. So why bother being in this relationship? You definitely need to postpone the wedding. It isn't just your feelings about her past that you need to address. It's the betrayal of trust that she lied to you deliberately as a way to get what she wanted, despite knowing you wouldn't want it if you knew the real her. Also, the fact that she never would have told you the truth herself. If you had it found out from someone else, she would have lied to you forever. Those are some very serious issues that you need to address both individually and at couples counseling before you marry her. Exactly. I'm not one to yell massive red flags or whatever easily, but this is no casual lie or whatever. She manipulated him into getting into a relationship by creating a premise that wasn't true. Insecurity about past intimate partners isn't something that just goes away, but she was treating it like that. She said lying was the best option at the time. What she forgot to mention was that it was the best option for her, not for them or their relationship. She didn't lie to protect Opie. She lied to protect herself. Maybe counseling will help, but I doubt if they will re-find mutual trust in their relationship. This chick put you in a room surrounded by all the dudes she used to sleep with, and you were the only one in the room who didn't know the dynamic? That's messed up. Even more than the lies, that's messed up to me. Dude who told you was a bro. Agree on a coworker being a bro. Couldn't believe the comments in Nopi's previous post. He is lying. Trust your girlfriend. People seem not to get that telling a man his girlfriend is the town bicycle is a dangerous thing to do. The coworker risked getting into a fist fight to give Opie that information. Dump the lying girlfriend and go buy the coworker a beer. Next story is titled, Update. My 19 female friend, 19 male, acts like I'm his girlfriend. Original story. I have a group of guy friends I hang out with decently often. We mostly play video games and D&D and have started meeting up and going out in person. One guy in particular is a little weird. I'll call him Matt. I was initially closest with him, but I still consider him a good friend. But he's quite possessive. Makes passive-aggressive comments when I hang out with the other guys. And whenever we do hang out as a group, he keeps trying to hold my hand and awkwardly put his arm around me. Whenever he tries to initiate hand-holding, I just give him a high five. Lol. Everything came to a head yesterday when I hung out with 3 other guys from our group without him. He was invited, but at the last second, the rest of us were literally at the restaurant and seated. He told us he had swapped shifts with a coworker. We went ahead and ate anyway since we were already there. And to be honest, it was probably better he didn't come because he has a very basic palate. And we went to a hot pot place that was predominantly organ meat that he would never eat. We're all very Asian and he's white. So we ate and hung out for a bit at a park and went home. The second I connected to Wi-Fi, my phone was inundated with messages from Matt asking me to play a game with him, or asking what I'm up to. And when I told him we had eaten, he got really upset and accused me of being a bad friend. Not any of the other guys, just me because it's just different. I was confused because wasn't he working? His excuse was that the shifts got messed up, but he expected us to just cancel the hangout. I don't really believe him, because if his shift really did get messed up, He could have texted me or any one of our other friends, and we could have told him to come down, instead of only messaging me on Discord. I'm basically notorious in our friend group for having a terrible prepaid phone plan from 7-Eleven, so I have no data. So I think he did that to check if I was out or at home. I know a lot of people are going to tell me just talk to him, but I feel like unless he straight up confesses, he's just going to deny anything I say and probably react really poorly. I tell him not to hold my hand and call him stuff like champ and pal to dissuade his behavior, but he's undeterred. How can I subtly friend-zone him without wrecking our friendship? Now for the top advice before reading the update. I feel like unless he straight up confesses, he's just going to deny anything I say and probably react really poorly. He probably will, and that's okay. Seriously, you don't need him to buy into this. You don't need him to admit what's going on. You don't need him to react well. What you do need is for him to stop this crap. That's all. If I were you, I'd pull together a clear and concise list of behaviors that need to stop, and tell him, "Hey Matt, there are some things that have been an issue for me, and in order for us to keep being friends, I need them to stop. Don't touch me anymore. Don't try to hold my hand or put your arm around me. I need you to stop constantly messaging me, and I need you to accept that I'm going to be hanging out with other friends, sometimes without you there. I'm not going to apologize for that, and I'm not going to tolerate a guilt trip over it. I'm getting the impression that you're into me, so I need to say now that I'm not interested in you. Can you stop doing those things?" From there, if he denies it, say, "Great. We're on the same page that there is nothing between us, and there will never be. Can I trust that you're going to stop touching me and messaging so much?" If it gives you any response other than, "Yeah, sorry, now that I know it's an issue, it won't happen again," cut this dude off. He can't be trusted. I know you called this guy your friend, but honestly, I don't think this man is your friend. He sounds like someone who is interested in you romantically and is just waiting for an opportunity to swoop in, or wear you down enough with his affection that you'll suddenly see what a great and caring guy he is, in his mind, that you end up falling for him. His behavior is not friendly behavior. If he truly valued you as a friend, he would not try to engage in physical contact that you repeatedly rebuff. The problem with these types of people is that they do not understand subtlety, or they refuse to acknowledge it. So you have to be explicit and straightforward. Unfortunately, they also don't respond well to rejection. So it's also likely that he will try to tell you that you misinterpreted his behavior and try to frame it like there's something wrong with you. You gave him mixed signals, or it's your fault for misinterpreting his innocent behavior. It's all gaslighting, so don't fall for it. So, I would just tell him explicitly what behaviors make you uncomfortable and that you need him to stop those behaviors in order to remain friends with you. If he reacts negatively or defensively, he's not your friend. If he's not willing to have a relationship with you on your terms, a platonic one, then it's just evidence that he wasn't really interested in your friendship in the first place and just wanted to try to pursue you romantically. And now for the update. I decided to bring it up with my other guy friends and discussed how to handle things as a group so it doesn't get too messy. A couple of my other friends noticed the behavior and wasn't sure what exactly was going on between us, and some of them had no idea but believed me regardless, which I'm grateful for. We decided the next time he would try to make jabs at me for spending time with other people or try to touch me, the other guys would call him out on it. We all hung out at a park yesterday, and of course Matt tried to put his arms around my waist. And when I started squirming, he held on tighter, which made me panic. Our friends started telling him to let go of me, but he just laughed and said he was joking around. They ended up having to get a little physical and pushed him away from me. And Matt flipped out and started calling them simps and jealous C-blockers before leaving. One of our friends is going to try to talk some sense into him, but for me, that was the last straw. It's hard because they've all been friends since elementary school, while I met them rather recently. But the majority of the boys are totally disgusted with Matt and are going to cut him off. Thank you again for everyone who has weighed in. I'm hoping this is the last update I'll make and I consider this issue to be resolved. Simps and jealous C-blockers? This guy has issues. And he obviously doesn't think much of you. No thanks. Yeah, the comment reveals his true intentions. Good riddance. Wow, that guy's definitely a creep. Don't understand how anyone can be part of society and think that behavior is acceptable. That's awesome they recognized his behavior for what it was and took action. Sounds like you've found yourself a good group of friends. Yeah, honestly, I was worried they were going to back him, considering they've been friends for so long. So I'm relieved that they believed and supported me. Now for the last story. My wife, 22 female, and I, 29 male, are divorcing after she got caught cheating. Man, this sucks. I've invested every bit of time and energy into making a wonderful home for our family. We have 2 kids together that are pretty young as well. We've been together for a few years and got married about 10 months ago. As far as I know, everything was great till about 4 months ago, which I'm sure isn't really the case, but that's the way it was perceived. My wife is diagnosed with borderline personality disorder, but untreated. Over the last couple weeks, she's hooked up with 2 other guys on multiple occasions, both of which are also married with kids. She has been talking with multiple others, male and female. All this while she's telling me she wants us to do marriage counseling and work on bettering our relationship. I found out a couple days ago that she had been seeing them over last weekend, when she would say she was running errands and hooking up with them. I'm just distraught at this moment. The dude she was seeing just broke everything off with her because his wife caught him as well. And same scenario with dude number 2. How do I stop being so pathetic about it all? Why do I still want her after all this mess? Why can't I just give her up? Can't sleep, I can't eat. Just take care of the kids and go to work. She's also been coming over to see the kids every day since, and we've been having family days with all of us together doing stuff. But she has absolutely no intentions in wanting to come back. She's living in her car and banging tweakers now, instead of being with her family that loves her unconditionally. And even though every part of me tells me that I don't want anything to do with her, the heart wants what it wants, I reckon. Sorry for the wall of text, just needed to get this stuff out. You need to get a lawyer and keep this woman away from you and your kids. Untreated mental health, banging crackheads, this can get really messy really fast. Get it documented as much as possible. This is a good reason to get primary or sole custody. You need to protect your children first. Edited to add, medical reports or police reports are relevant. Not your own log, because they won't pay attention to that. I would say her living in her car would qualify for an involuntary psych hold, but I don't know. Talk to a lawyer before talking to her. In the US, mental health records are destroyed after 7 years, so if her diagnosis is before that, it will no longer count. Get a divorce lawyer ASAP. If she is banging crackheads, she is almost certainly also using illicit substances, and you should be filing for full custody and insisting on clean test results before she can have visitation. Sounds like she's using. Favors in exchange for D's.